Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Is This a Ghost? I'm Clayton Smith, and every week I tell a real ghost story from real history to my real friend, Patrick Dean, who doesn't take it real seriously,
Mm-mm.
but who may or may not realize that by the time this episode of the podcast drops, we will be less than 1 month from the election.
Oh, more importantly, though, how many days until the Halloween episode? That's what I'm more worried about.
It's good that your priorities are in order. I will give you a live date check here.
How many hours until we're recording that episode?
It's coming up real fast. Today is September 30th. So 1, 2, you've got 3 weeks from tonight, my friend.
It's good. That's plenty of time.
It's I mean, I could write 3 stories in that, and I do write 3 stories in that time. So I would recommend, starting sooner than later.
Okay. I'll put it on my list of things.
Yeah.
It'll be in the middle.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's not like above groceries, but it's probably above, retirement planning or something.
It's as it should be. Retirement planning is a thing you should start doing around 60 years old. You got plenty of time, my friend. Oh, man. You have any ideas for the Halloween episode that you want to share?
No, not at all.
Any initial notes or like outlines or anything?
It's probably going to be something where I tell you 3 stories and all 3 of them are made up. That's probably what's going to be.
Okay, that sounds right. I've been waiting for that one to happen.
And then you feel so dumb trying to pick which one's real, and it turns out none of them are real.
I'll tell you, I'll be pretty mad if I spend a lot of time thinking and trying to figure out which one's real. I'll be pretty mad. Well, I can't wait. Speaking of holiday episodes, I was thinking today, I had an idea today for a new kind of episode. Because I was thinking that usually it's kind of funny. So sometimes in these stories, and this is not a foreshadowing today, I don't think you're going to know this one. But sometimes, I'll tell like a kind of a famous ghost story, and then you don't really understand what's happening until like a third of the way through or half of the way through.
Right.
And then you're like, oh, and sometimes you're like, oh, I've never heard of that. Who is Annabelle? But the audience always knows in advance what the story is going to be because they see the title of the episode, right?
Yeah, and they decide whether or not they're going to click play. And
yeah, exactly.
Like, nah, not this week.
Yeah. And so, I hadn't thought about that, but that actually plays really well into this idea as well. So thank you for making me sad about that. Which almost certainly does happen. But you're the only person who ever gets to be surprised by the story.
That's right.
And I thought maybe it'd be kind of fun sometimes to do, like if you go to like a bookstore, sometimes they're like, here are all these books that are wrapped in brown paper. And on the front, it says, sweet romance or scary horror or whatever. And you have no idea what it is.
I mean, most of the time when I buy books in the bookstore, they're wrapped in brown paper. Is that not?
No. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Like a black plastic bag?
Yeah. Sorry. On the bookshelf, they're already wrapped.
Right. Correct.
You do porn.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes you can see the women's eyes.
You're saying
sometimes
porn.
you can see their eyes above the paper. Sometimes.
But it's the least attractive
Sometimes you can't.
part of the female body. Why do they even show that?
Yeah.
That's not what I'm here for.
I'm just tearing that part off anyway.
When we lived in Berwyn, there was an old style like magazine stand out in the street, and I never walked up to it, but every time I drove past it, I would look and see what kind of magazines. I swear to God, every single one of them had black banners in the front. It was just a porn stand. I'm pretty sure. But anyway, yeah, it's like that. Yes. So you never know what you're going to get, right? What a surprise. What a joy it'll be. And I thought maybe it'll be like maybe from now on, I'll do the Christmas episode that way, or the holiday season episode, where it's like you get to open a present with Patrick.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. No one will know who the ghost is. The title will be something like Surprise Ghost or pornographic black box episode or whatever. So that'd be fun. You like it?
Yeah.
You like that idea?
I love that idea. You know what I like most about that idea?
What's that?
I have nothing to do with that idea.
Yeah, I know. I figured you would not care one way or the other. Oh boy. Well, what else I want to say? How was your weekend? Did you do anything fun this weekend?
No. But we were
find
busy.
more joy in your life. Gotta get out there and do things, friend.
I'm sure there'll be time for that later. No, we did a lot of softball. We had like 4 softball games in 2 days.
That's too many.
And just a lot of 13-year-old girls crying all weekend. That's how I just love spending my time.
It's kind of like the inverse of our house. So I guess it was yesterday, Sunday, I got up with the girls early and Aaron was still sleeping, and we watched Inside Out 2. And there was a lot of me crying
Yeah.
and the girls just kind of watching stoically. Those movies, man, they do get me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I broke into tears no fewer than 4 separate times
Yeah.
watching that stupid movie. I'm like, God damn it, it's 6 a.m. I don't like this.
Like, oh, and you're a girl, Dad. Let me just twist that knife a little bit firmer. Oh.
How's that feel?
Mm-hmm.
So that was good. And let's go on, I guess, with today. Oh, and I do want to say, so I don't do a lot of shameless plugs here. I'm going to do one now. Just, it's spooky season. It's spooky season.
I heard.
Officially.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're looking for some fun books to read during the spooky season, maybe you could try some of my books if you want to and you haven't read them yet. Anomaly Flats is a good one.
Very spooky.
Very spooky, creepy, but comedic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It came from Anomaly Flats as like classic short story horror. And then Mabel Gray and the Wizard Who Swallowed the Sun, if you're looking for something to read with your kids this Halloween, it's a very Halloweenish book.
Mm-hmm.
So let's go. Now I will say Aaron started reading Mabel Gray to the girls at bedtime the other night. They're a little young for it still, but we're reading like a chapter a night at bedtime.
Let them process, give them like a whole night to process.
So this is the whole thing. So I'm reading it, and I remember it as like a really kind of cool, like I always pitch it as like, Hermione Granger meets Jack Skellington. Like it's Halloween Town and Harry Potter. Which is true. It's accurate. But I was reading this chapter where, Mabel Gray, the main character, she goes on all these adventures throughout the town of Brightsbane. And the chapter I read the other night was about these glassfoot crows, who have like razor sharp glass feet, and they come down and they just rip things apart with their feet. And so Mabel's looking for a key in this scarecrow field, and the scarecrows are all like ripped to shreds, and they're alive, of course. And they're like, run, please run, you're in danger. And they're like in pain. And she's hiding beneath them and using them as like as scarecrow shields as these crows dive bomb her and like start cutting her. It's really dark. And I'm like, God, this was definitely written by someone who did not have children. But the girls have not had nightmares yet that they have told us about. So it's going pretty well.
Yeah, they don't always tell you about the nightmares though. Just as a father of several girls, they don't always tell you about them.
Yeah, they'll tell you about you'll tell them to your therapist. 20 years later, and send you the bill. But yeah, ironically, that's the only book of mine that has ever won a book award. Probably awarded by people who also don't have children. Anyway, if you want to check those out, you can find them on Amazon. You can find them on my website, stateofclayton.com. And I would love that. It would be helpful for me, and I think you'll like them. So that's all. Patrick, you want to plug anything?
No. I have nothing to plug. I'm all plugged out.
Plugged out and plugged up. Let's go. All right, let's get started. I want to give a special thanks to one of our listeners for providing this story. She did not write the entire script like last time, but special thank you to one of my favorite listeners, maybe my favorite, Aaron Smith.
Oh, I know her.
For recommending this story.
That's wonderful. I actually just saw her a few minutes ago.
It's amazing with the circles we run in overlap so completely. The other night after the girls had gone to bed, I was like, I really got to start working on a story for this weekend. Aaron, do you have any ideas? Please, God, share one. And she shared a couple actually. So here's one, and then we have another one coming up that she also helped with. So pretty good. So thank you, Aaron, for that and literally everything else. The Caribou Hotel. And I'll just give you one guess as to which country we're talking about today.
So I'm gonna have to go with Canada on this one.
We are up in Canada, America's hat. The Caribou Hotel was built in Bennett in British Columbia, Canada in 1898. It was originally called the Yukon Hotel. Although it was not. Go ahead.
It's a better name. It's a better.
Way
name.
better. Way better. Although Caribou Hotel is kind of quaint.
It depends on what you're going for. I mean, how many people are driving in the middle of the wilderness to go to like a quaint little place?
That's a good question.
If I'm gonna go out that far, I'm gonna go someplace that I feel is like gonna actually, have my back.
I think Caribou might be pretty aggressive. Let's see. Are caribou aggressive? Do you want to hear the AI answer or
Yeah. Oh, AI. Yeah,
website
absolutely
answer?
AI answer. AI. That's all I trust now.
Caribou. It's a good way to go through life. Caribou can be aggressive in certain situations, particularly during mating season and when bulls are fighting for mates. Not very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But do you know there are wild animals that are constantly on the move in search of food?
What? Wild animals that move for food?
What?
And fight over mates? I'm stunned.
They are gregarious, which is did not think I would ever hear a caribou described as gregarious. So I learned something today. Huh. They move in herds of thousands of animals. Anyway, this is not interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You like the Yukon Hotel better, and that's great. The only problem with the name Yukon Hotel is this is not in the Yukon. As I mentioned, it's in British Columbia. But the British Columbian is not a good name for a hotel either.
No, especially when you get that far west. It's not funny anymore.
No, it loses the shine for sure. Now, it is just about 15 miles south of the Yukon border. So it's close.
Okay.
It's close. It's like when people ask you like where you grew up and you were like St. Louis.
Yeah.
Most people didn't know that wasn't true.
If you grew up near the Yukon Hotel, you tell people you grew up in the Yukon. I mean,
for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Did you ever meet one of the guys I worked with when I was an RA at Mizzou? One of the guys I worked with was Kevin Kreitner. I don't know if you ever met him or not. We never really hung out, so I liked him a lot. But he like actually grew up in St. Louis City, and he was one of those people who, if you said like, yeah, I'm from St. Louis, meaning like I'm from the St. Louis greater area,
right?
He would get so mad. He would get like viscerally angry, and he would shout very loudly, "No, you're not!" And that would become a whole scene. And he would do it, I mean, quite truly every time anyone not from St. Louis City said they were from St. Louis.
He sounds very popular. Very popular.
What does he do now? He's like an actuary or something.
Boring.
Yeah, not popular.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they're basically in the Yukon. Now, you may or may not be asking yourself at this point, Patrick, why the fuck is someone building a hotel in northern Canada in 1898? Do you know why?
Let me guess gold. Gold
is the correct answer.
Yeah.
That's 3 iTag points for you, my friend.
I know my 19th century motivations.
It is number 1, gold. Number 2, smallpox.
Number 3, whores. It's pretty much.
Yeah, maybe number 2, whores, actually. Okay, so the Klondike Gold Rush is happening. Now, Klondike is it's not just a delicious ice cream bar. It is also a region of the Yukon. That joke, I don't know why I put that joke in. That's not funny.
Is that from the pamphlet? Is that actually from the...
Yeah.
Okay.
That must be a quote. I couldn't possibly have written that. Local miners discovered gold in the Yukon on August 16th, 1896. And when word gets down to Seattle and San Francisco, it is game over.
Everybody leaves. Like everyone leaves. Yeah.
And San Francisco has been a ghost town ever since. Let's see. So you had all the 49ers in San Francisco in 1849. So this is about 50 years later. So I guess like their progeny now. Like, my pappy didn't know what he was talking about, but I'm going to be the one to strike it rich. And they headed up north.
No, I do think it's robo taxis. And they drove straight north
in their little Waymos.
Yeah.
Come on. You can get there. I do think it's worth running through some. Oh no, where's my fun facts?
Wham! Yes.
of how awful it truly must have been to be a Klondike prospector. It's always bad to be a prospector, and we've detailed that a lot on this show. Being a Klondike prospector sounds particularly awful. So if you're not familiar with the Klondike, this isn't a very obviously like a remote part of the world. It's hard to get there now. To get to the Klondike, at this time you had to sail to Alaska, and then you would walk a trail to the Yukon River, and you would sail that river to the Klondike region
in just Canada. Like your pants. I don't know how you're.
Well, you would make a boat. You'd have to
Yeah.
kill 19 caribou and use every part of the caribou to make a boat. The bones are the frame.
Mm-hmm.
The skins are obviously the wood.
Sure. Yeah. I've seen Indian in the cupboard. I know how this works.
They don't do that in Indian in the cupboard.
They do in the book. They do.
He's
not
very
in the movie.
small.
Not in the movie.
So small. How does he do that?
Aren't they use mice?
I haven't read that book in almost 40 years, so I can't fact check you on this. I did love that book, though. I did. Here's an embarrassing childhood thing I will admit. After I read that book, I liked it so much. I would start taking my little Indian guys because I had, I'm a rural Midwestern boy. I definitely had cowboy Indian, very offensive toys.
All the cultural action figures. Every single cultural action figure.
It would make your head spin. The action figures we had at home.
I had little Dutch boys. I had Canadian Mounties.
We had the ghosts. At least that's what I thought they were.
Mm-hmm. It was like, it's a small world, my room, 24 hours a day.
I've never been on a small world ride.
Oh my gosh. It's fantastic.
Every time so far I've gone to a Disney property, that ride has been closed for like renovation or breaking or racism.
Disinterest. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't feel like I'm missing a lot. And I feel like one of these days I'm going to have to go and it's going to be open and then we're going to have to go and I'm going to have to spend a lot of my time explaining to my children what stereotypes are. Oh, like the fact we just watched Peter Pan over the weekend also.
The original Disney animated one?
That's a tough
watch.
That's
a hard one.
Tough watch. Yeah. I mean, I and I remembered there was some unsavory representations of Native Americans. I did not remember the details. I was like, Jesus Christ. Like now these girls are internalizing this. Like, we've done this all wrong. Anyway, we were talking about something. Oh,
step back.
I would take Indian. Yeah. Okay. 7 steps back.
Yep.
I would take my little Indian guys. I would put them in my medicine cabinet and check every day to see if it had become real. And it never happened.
Yeah.
After a while, my sisters made so much fun of me that I had to stop because I was so ashamed. That doesn't have anything to do with this though. So
like at all.
No. So you want to get there, you got to go. Okay. So you sail to Alaska, you walk a trail, you sail down the river. The hike alone is about 400 miles.
400 miles of walking through the Alaskan wilderness.
Yes, correct. For our British friends, that's about 700 kilometers, whatever those are. It's 400 miles walking through, and this is cold. Yeah. It's ice and snow and terrible. Sure. Like even in the summer, it's not great.
Yeah. The only indication you're going the right way is just like you're not dead yet.
Those guys went that way, so should we keep going? The trip was so far and so difficult that Canadian authorities required every prospector who entered the country to bring with them a year's supply of food so they wouldn't starve to death.
How do you do this?
That's a very important question. Here's a quote that I found. All in all, the Klondikers' equipment weighed close to a ton, which most carried themselves in stages.
So how many times do you walk in the 400 miles here?
I think 19 times. You're strapping some stuff to your back. You're going for a walk. You're dropping it off. Honor system. No one touched this. And you're going back for the rest.
It's like in Chicago whenever I moved after you and I were done living together forever. And me and Amy moved like halfway down the block and then halfway up the next block. It was maybe 1,000 feet at the most. And we thought, you know what the easiest way to do this would be? We don't need to rent a moving van. Like I can see the new apartment. This is stupid. We'll just walk everything over there over the course of a fucking month.
You and I moved that giant ass couch from our place over to your new place. And then up those goddamn stairs. It's still one of the worst days of my life.
Now imagine doing that like 2,000 times.
Because I can only take 1 pound of things at a time.
That's
I have consumption. It's 1898. I'm going very slowly. Oh, it's terrible. So it took a really long time for these guys to get there. So this meant that to this point, Even though the rush started in 1896, most of the people who went there didn't actually make it to the Klondike goldfields until 1898.
That's
So,
I think it's no longer a rush. I mean, this is
it's a shuffle.
yeah, this is the gold ease, maybe,
The Klondike Goldies. Yep. So by the time they got there, they realized there's no gold left. So
all the bears have eaten the gold. I feel so dumb.
So to accommodate all these prospectors and all these people who are now, I guess, Canadian residents, because you're not going on that return trip, right?
I'm not dragging all that shit back down the road.
Absolutely not.
No way. No.
Absolutely not. So Boomtown starts springing up all along the route. And one of those boomtowns was Bennett, British Columbia. And thus the Yukon Hotel was built. So here's a yuck fact. Do you want to do like a ugh kind of thing? Yeah, once you're done yawning, anytime you're bored. Oh, that's good. We should. Hey, Jeremy, can you isolate that? I'll put it on the board. The Yukon opened up not too far from Friedrich Trump's new Arctic restaurant and hotel. And yes, indeed, Friedrich Trump was Donald Trump's grandfather. Fucking guys are everywhere. And every time. Now the hotel did all right while the Klondikers were doing their thing, certainly. But once they stopped coming, business dried up.
Yeah. That's this wilderness hotel is not nearly as popular as the one at Disney World. I'm not entirely sure what we're doing wrong here.
Man, the one at Disney World slaps. It is great.
Absolutely.
There's one at Disneyland too, and you've never stayed there because it's $900 a night or something. But you can like walk through it to get into the park if you want. It feels like you are a real big time game hunter in the Yukon, and that makes me feel that's the maximum things I want to feel about going to the Yukon. Except for sourdough. I do want to go there for sourdough.
Ooh, yeah. Have we not done that yet?
Sourdough on this podcast? It's a sign. It's a sign from the toe. Patrick's toilet is just flushed above his head. Jeremy, I'm sure we'll cut that out. And thank you, Jeremy. The toe is not pleased with our conversation.
No. So the sourdough. Where is the bar of the sourdough?
It's in Dawson City.
Okay. So I'll mess up the story.
Okay. So in Dawson City in the Yukon, which we'll talk about Dawson City here in a little bit. It will factor in, but it's Dawson City is a very remote town in the Yukon in northern Canada, very, very far in northern Canada. In Dawson City, there is a bar, and I don't remember the name of the bar off the top of my head, but they have a drink there called the sourdough. Now, the sourdough is just two ingredients. The first ingredient, it's basically a shot, and the first ingredient is whiskey.
Sure, of course.
It's like a specific kind of whiskey, but I don't.
It's a good base. It's a good base for any drink, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And then what do they add to it exactly? I don't remember.
Well, a little sousson, little
right,
splash.
A splash of
a little sousson of mummified severed human toe. just a little splash. They do splash it in.
Right.
So there is, and this is not a joke. This is truly a thing that exists. There's the sourdough drink is a whiskey shot, and they have this behind the bar. They have this jar of salt, and they will fish through it. And they have this toe, and it's there's only one toe, by the way.
Oh, they don't. Okay.
So yeah. So it's the same. Everyone gets the same toe, and it goes back into the jar, which is just an added layer of just disgusting. It's not better if there are toes for each person,
right?
But it's so gross.
Yeah. Like have you ever seen somebody make it like a margarita at the bar, and and there's a little bit of disgust. It's like it's the same salt tray that everyone gets, and I know like nobody's lips touch it, but all the same, like my drink is touching everybody else's drink in like a wet way. So it's like
exactly
it's
like that.
It's just
exactly the same.
Yeah. Except this one guy is touching everyone's drinks.
and mouths.
Yeah.
Because the toe it's actual human toe, severed human toe that they have mummified, and they pour you a shot of whiskey, they drop the toe in, and then you take the shot of whiskey. Now, hopefully you don't ingest the toe. But it doesn't really count as having successfully taken a sourdough shot if the toe doesn't touch your lips. That's the key.
That's fair.
Yeah. And I learned about this in undergrad. And so that's been what, 20 years about since I learned this. I don't know why, but I feel so called to do this thing. I really want to go. And they were in the news a couple years ago because someone stole the toe. Did you hear about this?
I did not hear about this.
Someone stole the toe, and then the bar like put out all these pleas. They're like, please, like, we need the toe back. We can't get another one. We don't know where to get it. And so they put out this plea, and then the person who stole it did return it. They like left it. They felt bad. They had to change their heart. They left it back like at the doorstop of the bar. So the toe is back. So it's there. You can go. And I was telling the story to a friend, our friend Tom, when he was in the PhD program in DC. He met a friend there, Ryan, great guy who is from Canada, came down to American University to do his PhD. And I told him, I was like, well, you're from Canada. You must know about the sourdough. And he's like, Canada, listen, Canada's pretty big. And I'm from the part where the people live. Right. So he had never heard of it. So I explained it to him. 6 years later, I get an email from Ryan, and he's like, guess what I just did? And then he got these photos, and it's him taking these sourdough shots. Like, you son of a bitch. Did it. And I'll tell you, I'm here to tell you, that's a real toe. That's a real toe in that shot glass. So here's what I think. Destination trip.
Right.
We talked about doing like eye tag on the beach. What about eye tag
at the toe?
At the toe. There've got to be 1,000 ghost stories in Dawson City. We're going to talk about one of them today. I'm sure there are just so many. So listeners, if you want that to happen, you let us know. We're going to need a lot of money, and it is very difficult to get there.
I don't believe there's any directs from St. Louis. I don't think there are.
I did research this because one of my plans originally was to do this for my 40th birthday. Then we had kids, and I was like, I just want to go to a beach for my 40th birthday. But I looked this up. You have to fly in. It's like you fly into Alaska, and then you have to take
walk.
You have to walk 400 miles, and then you get in this river. Now there is some like bus or something that goes there, but they're like, you can charter this bus, but we do not guarantee it'll get there. Like, we'll get you as close as we can. Anyway, so that's a sourdough. That also has nothing to do with this, except for the fact that we're talking about that same area. Where do we leave off here?
3 pages ago.
Oh boy, we have so much more to go. The Klondikers dried up. Yes. So the hotel is suffering because no one is coming to stay in the hotel because they don't yet know about the sourdough.
If they'd only held out, really,
if they'd only known what kind of glory was in their future.
I know. It's like that grocery store up the street from me that shut down like 6 weeks before COVID. I was like, oh, you were so close. You could have been the king of this.
Was it Sprouts? Not
It
Sprouts.
was Lucky's.
Lucky's. Oh, yeah. Lucky's was so good.
6 weeks before COVID. Close. You could have been.
That is bad luck. Anyway, the Yukon Hotel now is sold to a man named W.A. Anderson. So this guy Anderson buys a hotel. He does what any good entrepreneur would do. He puts the hotel on a boat and floats it across Bennett Lake and unloads it in a much more prosperous town called...
I did not know this was an option.
Well, you think small.
It's fascinating.
You are not an entrepreneur. Yeah. You got to think big.
The 2 things I did not know here. Number 1, you can move a hotel. Number 2, hotels float. I did not know that part either.
It's got to be a real fucking big boat. I don't know. There's a lot of
or real shitty hotel. That's the other option. It's maybe like
could be column A, column B. You'll see a picture of the hotel eventually, and column A, column B.
You're like, that looks floatable. That looks like you could kind of seal it up.
Pontoons underneath this boat.
You seal it up like Oregon Trail and just ford the river in this thing.
Yeah, makes sense. No, you have no vision. Daniel Burnham, famous architect of the White City of Chicago's World Fair. He always said something like, I can't think of it exactly, but
he said if you can float me, you can float anything. That's what he said.
That's probably true.
I have the book upstairs.
Make no small plans, Patrick, for they have no magic to stir men's souls, or something similar to that. I don't know if Patrick was in the original quote, but
I think I was.
I think
sounds familiar.
Okay, so now as well, I'll show you the map. Okay, so he sails it across this fucking lake. Let's see here. work? Yes, it does. All right. I'm going to share this map with you, my friend. A little bit here. So,
Okay.
all right. So here's where the hotel ends up.
Right.
Right.
That's a Google listing for it. So it's current.
It's still there. Still there. You can
Ish.
see the picture.
Yeah.
Um,
That looks very floatable.
it's
like
it's so floaty.
It's like 3 barges stacked on top of each other. That is.
Yeah.
It's not the most romantic hotel.
Here's Bennett.
Oh wow, that is a ways.
It's a long, like it says lake. I don't want to. Yeah. So it's important. This is like a Missouri style lake where it probably is a river that was dammed up.
Yeah.
That's a long way to go up there. I also, while we're at the map, I want to zoom in here. This is a mountain called Tom Thumb Mountain.
Right.
And it's got 5 stars.
Only 3 reviews, which
no
makes me a little
pictures.
suspicious. Yeah.
But anyway, so that's a long way to float a hotel. It's a long way to float Daniel Burnham. Long way to float a hotel. That's where it ends up. So now, finally, it is in the Yukon.
Oh.
Where it's always meant to be.
Yeah, they can keep the name then.
They could now, however, they did change the name to the Anderson Hotel.
Why?
Because it was now owned by William Anderson.
Bullshit, do you know how expensive it was to move this thing? I'm calling this Anderson Hotel, presented by Coca-Cola.
Yeah, the other thing you show about entrepreneurs is they love naming everything after themselves. And they do love sponsorships with Coca-Cola. But now it's in the Yukon. Now it opens in Carcross on Christmas Day, 1901. I think business wasn't very good because 13 months later, he sold it to a man named Dawson Charlie.
So he opened the hotel in the middle of winter.
He fucking paid to have this thing lifted onto a boat, sailed it up the lake, had it removed from the boat to a place, then opens it up in the middle of winter.
Right, yeah. Well, I mean, there's like 3 days a year that lake is thawed. So
I was going to say, the lake
quick.
Maybe, although maybe he's just like pushing it across ice at this point.
Really, I give it one good push and it's in the Yukon.
Very
easy.
A lot more sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, he opens on Christmas Day in 1901. And can you believe it? It didn't go great. He sold it to a man named Dawson Charlie, who he is one of the original discoverers of the Klondike Gold Rush.
Okay.
So Klondike Charlie he's flush. He's rolling in it. Now Dawson, he's named Dawson Charlie because Dawson City, where the Sourdough is.
Right.
Is where the hub of the gold rush was. I did find Dawson Charlie's real name, and I would actually Patrick, if you could help me with the pronunciation here.
Oh, please, love to.
Drop in the chat here.
Okay, let me look.
I think the accent marks are coming through.
Okay,
can you give that a try?
Is that like a little accent mark under the X? I'm very confused. I don't know how to pronounce that. Gooks.
You can't say that. Great. So anyway, you were doing something racist with the name.
I pronounce the name. It's Gooks.
Maybe.
Except the X has a little like leg on it. I don't know what that means.
I don't know either.
It's got to be like another pronunciation.
I think you've probably done it wrong.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Oh, I've clearly done it wrong.
But you've done it how I would do it. So, but I'm glad you're the one whose voice is on record. Anyway, so Anderson sells the hotel to Dawson Charlie for $9,000. Now I have done the math, but I will caveat the inflation calculation here. I did try to find the exchange rate between Canadian dollars and US dollars in 1903. Did not find anything that I feel is trustworthy.
Was AI trying to hold your hand on that one?
Yeah. A little bit. So here's kind of the tangential number I can give you. So in the US, if it were US dollars, which this is not, but if it were $9,000 in the US in 1903, it would be $322,000 today, which seems too reasonable for a cool hotel in a cool place. So Dawson Charlie has a hotel now, and he completes some extensive renovations. Apparently,
more money in the hotel. Yeah.
This is putting good money after good money, I think is what they call that. Turns out the hotel broke a lot when they moved it from one place and put it on a boat and then unloaded it somewhere else. But he does renovations, turns it into a somewhat better place, I guess. And it is Dawson Charlie who renames this hotel the Caribou Hotel. Dawson Charlie has a hotel for 5 years, but he dies, unfortunately, on January 26, 1908. I got way too excited to ask this next question. Would you like to guess how he died?
Boy, we have to go with Trampled by Caribou.
God, that would be beautiful.
Am I close?
In a sense. He fell off the White Pass and Yukon Route Railway Bridge.
Oh, it happens.
Fell off. He was on the railroad bridge and fell off.
Just over here stealing railroad spikes, and then something totally unexpected happened.
So it's similar to being trampled by caribou in that this is something that only happens in the early 1900s. Anyway, so he's gone, and then something very important happens. Edwin and Bessie Gideon rent the hotel from Dawson Charlie's estate.
Okay.
So now they're in charge, Edwin and Bessie Gideon. And this is important because they took over in January of 1908. And on Christmas Eve of 1908, less than 1 full year later, the entire hotel burns to the ground.
Oh.
Now, if you're the estate and you own this hotel, that's not what you want from your renters.
Right, yeah.
To like let this place burn down. So the Gideons are in trouble, and they do not. They're like, oh no, oh boy. And they're like, please, okay.
Yeah.
Do not drag us out in the street and beat us to death with hammers.
Yeah. We are going to call this one Even Steven if we just leave.
Right? You're good that we paid you only less than 1 year's of rent and then did this, right? No, so they say, what we will do, we will rebuild the hotel.
Oh, good idea. Yeah.
This is sort of like when our friend Percy, when he spent $20,000 of his own money to remodel the kitchen and bathroom in the apartment he rents in Manhattan. Did I tell you the story?
Oh, yes. Yeah. You mentioned on the trip. Yeah.
God. Yeah, not getting a return on that, but
no,
it's not your equity, friend. It's kind of like that. So the Gideons built a brand new hotel in the same spot. Now they didn't have a whole lot of money. Obviously they were just renting this. They didn't buy the hotel. They were, so they didn't get any insurance money for the building burning down. So they're strapped for cash, but they do believe in this hotel in the middle of fucking nowhere. So they do what they have to do. They need to save some, I guess, loonies. That's probably what that's probably what it was called, right?
I'm sure this is probably the origin of the loony right here, is what it sounds like to me.
So they want to save some loonies, and they build the new hotel out of wood that they scavenged from a building that had recently been torn down in nearby Conrad City.
Reclaimed, please. They reclaimed the wood.
That's a modern term. Yes, indeed. And the Caribou reopens in 1910. And surprising everyone, everything's actually going pretty well.
Okay. Decided to make it out of wood instead of bones this time. There's hardly any fur anywhere.
It's only stylish decorative fur.
Right.
And they love that here. In 1917, a stern-wheeler ship called the SS Tucci was built to service growing tourism in the area. I don't know what tourism?
Or who, or what, or when.
Or why is the big question. But tourism is growing for some reason, and the Caribou starts hosting tourists. They also host big game hunters, which makes more sense.
Okay, yeah.
Visiting dignitaries, which does not make sense. And the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Oh, I see.
The Mounties come to town. It also served as long-term residence for construction workers and some local residents who needed a rental to live.
Right. Yeah.
It's the only one of these that makes any sense. Because, One of those long-term guests was a man named Captain James Alexander. He and his wife moved into the Caribou because he owned a nearby mine. But by 1917, World War I had kind of depleted the pool of mine workers because the only people dumb enough to do that was Americans. Was Canada part of World War I?
I think everybody was part of it. They called it the World War, so I figure.
I listen. I understand what World War means, but I don't like. Not everyone was part of it. I don't think the Congo like sent soldiers up.
Right? Yeah. It's. I mean, I think most people are involved.
Okay. Jeremy, if you can just cut my question. Patrick has made me feel very small and sad, and just cut that out of there. By 1917, yes, World War I depletes some of workers. So they're like, we got to sell the mine.
Mm-hmm.
They do find a buyer, and they decide they're going to move south. Now, the only problem is Captain Alexander and his wife, they have a pet parrot.
Okay, that's the only problem with moving.
Yep, only one.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
They have a parrot. Parrot's name, would you like to guess?
Archibald.
Oh, you could have guessed this one. You want to take another swing?
Was it Polly?
It's Polly.
It's okay. Right.
It's Polly. Do you know why Polly is such a parrot name?
Besides the alliteration, no idea.
I also did not. I looked it up, and it's actually kind of fascinating. I guess fun fact.
Wham!
Yes. In the early 1600s, Shakespeare's friend, a man named Ben Jonson. I don't feel like they called him Ben. That feels wrong. Wrote a play entitled Volpone. And one of the characters in this play went by the name of Sir Pol Woodby. WOULD-B. So Woodby.
Woodby, right.
Yeah, Sir Pol Woodby. Sir Paul and his wife traveled to Venice, even though neither of them could speak Italian. And in order to fit in, the two Brits just repeated parrot style, whatever Italian words they heard the locals say. And that play becomes super fucking popular. And so Sir Paul becomes Polly. Parrot.
Okay.
Parrots everything. And that's why Polly Want a Cracker becomes a fucking thing. Anyway, they name their parrot Polly. Captain has this parrot. He does not want to take it south. I assume he's just done with birds.
I mean, that's all birds do. That's literally one of their major features. They fly south. Deal.
Yeah. And I love that he's just like, okay, I will take this bird to the Yukon.
Yeah.
But we're going to go a little further south. Nah,
he likes the cold. He does. Look at all these feathers he has on him. Why the fuck would he have feathers on if he didn't like the cold?
These 8 feathers he has left.
Yeah.
Those are pretty good. So he tells the Gideons, the renters of this newly built hotel, we're going to bounce. Here's a parrot. Mm-hmm. This is your parrot now.
Oh, so he's leaving the parrot too.
And they dip out.
I think he might have just been sick of the parrot. That might have been.
It could be. I mean, I think that's
really seems like that. Have you ever encountered a parrot before?
I mean, like in controlled situations, right? Like at zoos and stuff,
yeah. But have you ever had like a neighbor that's 2 houses from you with a parrot?
Do you have one of those?
I did growing up, and I do now. It's not pleasant.
Oh no,
it's not pleasant.
Oh no.
So yeah, I could definitely see wanting just to leave any one of those birds I grew up with in the Yukon and just move away.
Our friend Will had birds. I think he talked about them on this baseball trip. I don't know if you were there for that conversation or not, but he hated having them.
Yeah.
He hated them a lot. Birds are apparently not great when you keep them in cages as pets.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's 100%. This is a great opportunity to not have this parrot anymore.
Yeah.
I am not convinced they didn't sell the mine specifically to have a reason to unload the parrot.
But I'm also not unconvinced.
Correct. So they leave. Now the Gideons, they kind of hope that maybe the captain would come back for the parrot. But unfortunately, on his way south, he and his wife on their way south, they died when their ship, the Princess Sophia, sank.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to throw something in the story here. Mm-hmm. The story of the sinking of the Princess Sophia is unbelievable.
Okay.
We do not have time to get into it here. And it is so aside from our story, but it is so good that I've bookmarked it. Ryan and I will be doing a Smith show
Okay.
on the sinking of the Sophia, and we're going to do it soon, and we'll cut it in. So it'll drop soon because it's very good. So if you want to listen to the story of the Sophia and how Captain Alexander and his wife die, you can get that on Ghost Plus shortly. So it's so good. So stay tuned for that. But anyway, so he dies on that ship, and the Gideons they're stuck with Polly the parrot, and they actually take to the parrot. Turns out they like having Polly around.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is easy.
It's a honeymoon period. I get it.
Well, yeah. But it also makes a lot of sense when you understand that Polly was known for singing opera, which, but also drinking whiskey and cursing.
Oh, okay. I can get along with a bird like that.
Yeah. So she says things like, get hosed,
Yeah.
I assume. Canadian parrot. Worth noting, the hotel today has a bar that they call the Surly Bird Saloon, which is very good. But Bessie in particular becomes inseparable with Polly. So they're good friends. Now, unfortunately, Edwin Gideon dies in 1925. And so Bessie and Polly together, they join forces. They run the hotel until Bessie's death on October 27th, 1933.
The parrot outlives them all.
I will tell you what year the parrot dies, and I want you to remember that Bessie dies in 1933. All right? 1930s. Keep that in your head. Now, Bessie dies in the hotel, and her spirit is still there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, today, the Caribou is owned by a woman named Anne Morgan. She and her partner, a man named Jamie Toole, they bought the hotel and decided to restore it to its original state.
Mm-hmm. How original? Like the floating state, or
no? Before that,
okay.
more original than that. So, and I should have clipped better photos of this. So you've already kind of seen a version of this, but I'll show you what this looks like today with the sign and everything.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
Again,
I love it.
It's a box.
But the backdrop. I mean, you could
backdrop is amazing.
You put an ugly fucking building in front of that backdrop, and I would love it.
It's funny if you look at. There are some that you can there's some photos like from down the street, like at an angle, and you see this street is full of just like nothing. It's like shacks that are falling apart, and then this is like the best building on the block. But to be fair, I did also see some photos I should have clipped here that the interior, it's like beautiful wood inside, and they're doing like, the decorations look like a hunting lodge. Not the Disney version, but like the real version. It actually looks quite good inside. Outside is strange, but the backdrop is, yes, as you note, fucking gorgeous. But here's a quote from Anne. "We didn't know it was haunted when we bought it. We are pretty aware of it now, though." So they did notice that a lot of local community members avoided the hotel, but they never really stopped to wonder why. Small towns have baggage and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But now that they've owned the hotel for over a decade, they've got a pretty good handle on things. So during renovation, there was always a lot of hammering going on. But one Sunday, there were no workers, and Anne and Jamie were in the hotel alone when they heard the sound of someone hammering upstairs. They run upstairs. They don't find anything. They've heard doors closing when they were the only ones in the building. And during construction, also, the electricity was cut off to the whole block, including the building, because they were rewiring this building, which I bet really pissed the neighbors off. Because of the grid system here, you got to turn off to the whole block. So no one has power, but during this period of no electricity, people could see lights on in rooms on the first floor. Ooh. More importantly, quite a lot of people have seen the ghost of Bessie Gideon inside the hotel. Now, she's always described as a helpful spirit, which is very nice. Sometimes people will come into their hotel rooms to find her drawing them a bath.
I mean, that's too helpful.
It's disturbing in a new and exciting, different way.
That might be one of those where after the ghost leaves, I kind of just, I let all that water just drain back out. Yep.
Pull that plug and
Mm-hmm.
start a fresh one. Some folks who are already in the bath or have the bath going already, she will come into their room. She'll knock on the door.
Mm-hmm.
They'll open the door. She will walk in. She will put bath salts into the water.
Hang on.
Yes.
They open the door?
Yeah.
I'm no.
I mean, they don't look out and they're like, "Oh, you're a ghost." I'm not opening the door. Someone knocks on the door and they're like,
"But you're, yeah. I've done it before. You know, taking a bath by yourself. Someone knocks on the door. You think, "Hey, let's see what friend is here." You open up the door.
I guess that's true. I guess it's probably when they're filling the bath. Always, probably not when they're in the bath. That's true. That's a good point.
I'm not dry enough just to open the door for some fucking ghost. You're a ghost. You can just come through. Okay.
Yeah, we've heard stories, I think, about you and your bath escapades at hotels. Okay, so she knocks on guest doors sometimes and asks if they need anything, and she will do various chores. She has even learned, apparently, how to run a vacuum cleaner and is sometimes caught vacuuming rooms. I could not figure out if the vacuum was real that she uses or if it's like a ghost vacuum.
I mean, when she was dead, there was no vacuums, right?
So it can't be a ghost of a vacuum.
Just be operating a real vacuum.
Yeah.
New one.
Yeah. So she must be a very strong, powerful ghost.
Mm-hmm.
One night, when one of the bartenders in the bar that's attached to the hotel was closing up, she asked the last customer to leave, who was a man, not a ghost.
Mm-hmm.
To leave, and that man, he stands up and he's really drunk. He stumbles toward her menacingly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, this bartender does not like this. She's a woman alone in this part of the building with some drunk asshole coming toward her. Suddenly, one of the TVs in the bar turns on all by itself. And so apparently both the bartender and the customer were like, "What the fuck? That's weird." But the guy keeps coming at her. He's coming closer. Even though the bartender has now moved to a position to position herself with a pool table between them. Mm-hmm. Right? So he's coming toward her still more closely. The guy keeps coming, but every step he takes, the volume on the TV gets louder and louder and louder until someone from the hotel lobby comes in to see what the noise is all about. The guy gets scared and runs off.
Oh, wow.
The TV turns off all on its own.
Oof.
Now, the most common place to find Bessie is looking down at the street from a window on the third floor. And you may say, "Hey, there are probably lots of people staring down."
Sure. Yeah.
From the third floor. How do you know it's Bessie?
Yeah, an empty street in the middle of nowhere, Canada.
Yeah. You know it's Bessie because perched on her shoulder is the ghost of Polly the parrot.
Wow.
We will talk about. I guess we do this now. So Polly died eventually, as all things do. She died in. Do you remember when Bessie died?
33.
Correct. Right? Yeah, very good. Polly the parrot died in 1972.
Oh my God.
Well over the age of 100.
This is why you don't get parrots, by the way.
Absolutely. 100%. Parrots and tortoises, not good for pets. Your mortality will really suffer. Polly's local celebrity, though, she's buried in the local cemetery. Just a headstone and everything.
Oof.
But anyway, so the ghost of Polly is there. She sits on Bessie's shoulder. That's how you know it's Bessie. Now, Bessie's ghost is so well known, and it's so often seen that the Canadian Postal Service put her on a stamp.
Can you do that? Is there like a what is it, in England? There's like a rule you can't be on a stamp unless you're a knight or something like that, or I guess
that sounds very
rules.
English. Right. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But Canada is rebelling from all that. This isn't Montreal, Patrick.
Typical.
So let me show you what this stamp looks like. Guess it's a fucking banger. Do you want to? This is not a joke. This is a real, honest to God stamp. Do you want to describe this?
I was not expecting this at all. Not expecting this. at all. So what I'm seeing is the ghost is Bessie's ghost holding, what looks like a small model of the Caribou Hotel in her arms.
And it's picture perfect.
It's it looks exactly like the photo we just saw. Blue clapboard, Caribou Hotel sign. She's holding it in her arms lovingly. She has on a fur coat with a big fur collar to it. Beautiful gold necklace, white blouse, and very smart 1920s era black women's hairdo, parted on the side.
Women's black hairdo, I would say. I wouldn't say black women's hairdo necessarily. Black hair.
Yeah, black
That's
hair.
a hairdo, not like a black woman's hairdo.
Right, a woman's hairdo, and her hair is black.
Yeah,
better.
That's better.
The only difference I would say between her and maybe when she was living is that her face is entirely that of a medical school quality skeleton. I'm not entirely sure what the choice there was.
Friends, if you are not watching this on our YouTube channel, this may be time to go at least check out a section of this, because I think the thing that scares me the most about the skeleton is let's see if we can zoom in here. Mm-hmm. It looks like she's wearing a skeleton mask almost. Like it almost looks like face behind here. But this is some
big smile though. Big smile.
Oh,
real happy to be on a stamp. Super happy to be on a stamp.
This is a government issued stamp.
Yeah.
And I have even better news for you, Pat. This is actually one of a series of stamps that the Canadian government put out that I had never heard of before. But there's a series called the Haunted Canada Stamps. Would you like to see all of them?
Please, yes, as slowly as possible.
I'd like to see this ad. Oh God, come on. There we go. Okay, so.
Mm-hmm. So the ghost bride of Banff Springs, right? The ghost train of San Luis, Saskatoon.
Mm-hmm. This is just research for me at this point. This is amazing.
Sure, yeah. just strictly the haunted of Fort George, Ontario.
Yep. This guy I love.
Comte de Frontenac of obviously Quebec. The phantom ships of I don't know what NS is. What's NS? I know something up there. Something up in Canada.
Dub the right answer in here, Jeremy, if you could do that. That'd be cool. Which I do love. It's just a boat that's on fire, which is pretty cool.
The Brakeman of Vancouver, BC. Marie-Josephine Caribou of Quebec. Which that's a really spooky one.
It's a really spooky one, right?
Yeah, it looks like one of those where the ghost is trapped in one of those a human, human-sized cages.
Yeah,
that's a really spooky one. The Halifax Citadel of Halifax, Nova Scotia, and of course our friend Bessie from the hotel. My goodness, there's how far does this go?
Many. There are so many.
The Red River, just the Red River. That's all it is. Yeah, Red River.
That's great. He's like drawing he's on a small cart with an ox pulling him. He's got a scythe.
And the Bell Island Hag. Yeah, that's a good one. We got to do that one.
Yeah,
maybe we have. Who knows? the Dungarvan Whooper. Never mind. We got to do that one first.
Yeah, this is my favorite one. You want to describe this one, will you?
It looks kind of like a promotional shot from that Thanksgiving horror movie they had before. They have a very pilgrim vibe to them with a wood splitting axe standing in front of a cauldron, and there's a hand desperately reaching out from inside of the cauldron, being burned alive. So very interested in the Dungarvan Whooper.
Okay,
of Dungarvan. NB. What is an NB?
New Brunswick,
of course.
That one I know.
Mm-hmm. The Lady in White of Quebec. What else we got here? The Phantom Bell Ringers. Hey, these guys look like they want to party.
Hey, hey, how you doing?
And the Winter Garden Theater of Winter Garden, Ontario. I would like to discuss all of these.
Yep. So these are on the list now. Now, Patrick, I will tell you, one of these we've already done.
Ooh, which one? Which one? Which one? Let me think. Ba, 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 ba. Oh, not Bell Island Hag. That does sound familiar though. Is it Corvo?
It is Corvo.
Yeah, I thought it was
Allez,
Corvo. Yeah.
Corvo! And yeah, she did. She's the one who hung above in one of those body cages. What I love about her stamp is I don't know if we talked about like sentient tree ghosts, which are
really mad. Really mad.
So that's a new thing that I guess that's mea culpa. I fell down in that research because I don't know what the fuck that is. But yeah, so this is a lot of fodder. And God love Canada. It's amazing. What a stamp collection. Anyway, so that is the story of the Caribou Hotel in Carcross in the Yukon Territory of Canada. Apparently, Bessie is still there. Go and check it out now. You can maybe meet her and probably have a pretty good fun time.
Mm-hmm. Take a bath. Not one of her baths, but maybe it's your own bath.
It is weird. Now that you called it out, it's I see the problem. Yeah. Any final thoughts on this ghost, Pat?
Oh man, would love to visit that hotel. Love it. Mostly just for the peace and quiet. Looks like they don't get like good cell service at all up there. So
we would be. Oh my God, you
would love it.
You just think of how much you could sleep.
Yeah,
20 hours of sleep. And if you go, this is the Yukon, so if you go at the right time of year, there is no sun.
Right.
Like the amount of sunlight you get is very minimal. You could literally sleep for days. Mm-hmm. And I think it might be worth the trip. Well, that is it. We got to go because we have to record another episode of something. That we're going to record a special Ask Me Anything episode for Ghost Plus. We've got a bunch of questions to answer for our friends at Ghost Plus. So if you, again, Ghost Plus is really, really fun. And if you want to hear the episode we're about to record, where our followers asked us a lot of questions that we're going to answer, you can do that. And again, Ryan and I are going to talk about the Sophia boat disaster because it's really good and there's a lot of extra content. So if you're interested, please go check it out. Ghost Plus, go to isthisghost.com and you'll find us there and you can do it. And we should go. We got a long night ahead of us. So yeah, we should go. Is This a Ghost is a production of Smith Show Media. All the notes this week were taken by me, Clayton Smith. All the funny jokes were from Patrick Dean. All our audio was edited by Jeremy Montoya. Our video editor is Jen Swanson. Our social media manager is Kai Valonis. And I don't know. You got to stay out of Canada, basically. Definitely out of the Yukon, because if you don't, you may be the next subject of Is This a Ghost?